accent.
Sorry to anyone out there who's been watching. I put the wrong link out. I'll correct it right now once Rixon gets on a roll. But we'll here. Let me see if I can get a little closer.
I'll do it.
But okay, well, Chance is gonna do it for us, and we can't really see. Okay, come that way, some Rixon, so we can get. If y'all are watching, I put up the wrong link, but it's. Oh,
Get me
snap.
out of the camera.
It's Pauly C. It's ustream.tv/channel/Pauly C and AWOWW show. All one word with everything. I think there's another one I created a while back, and then I couldn't remember my password, so I just set it up on another account. And so that's why the other one is offline. But this one's online. It's got a small delay, but if you're listening on the stream, then you'll still have like a 5-second audio delay, which I'm trying to figure out. That's the thing. I want to get the audio. We were just talking about this, getting the audio and all synced up. So we'll see what we can do, and maybe we'll use a new program next year. I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen. But until then, we've got this year. I saw John just step in. He's got a coffee. Not that that matters,
Ooh,
but
coffee.
he'll be back. He'll be playing for us very shortly, probably like 5 after 9. So that'll be really cool. But until then, let's keep talking sports. So we had, let's see, what did I say? Well, do your that's highlights of like from August on to now?
Yeah, this was the school year. I kind of just threw this together this morning, and it was really the top 10 storylines I thought that USC had this year. No, it's not funny. It's not Dave Letterman. It's too early. It's too early for all that. But I had a number 10. I actually had the equestrian team going out and winning the Southern Equestrian Championship because they've historically struggled in that event. They were able to bring it home this year. At number 9, I had women's soccer, made it all the way to the second round of NCAAs where they lost to Stanford, but they had a really great season. Number 8, and this goes back even further than this year, but it's Michael Roth. I mean, the rise that this guy's had has been unlike anything I've ever seen in college athletics. And one of the things I talked about on my show earlier in the semester was when Baseball America came out with their preseason All-Americans, and Michael Roth wasn't on the first team, the second team, or the third team. I looked up his numbers from last season. If you had put Michael Roth against every one of the preseason All-Americans for this year, the dude had more wins, he had a lower ERA, and opponents batted a lower average off of him than anybody on the All-American list.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, he's the best pitcher in college baseball, and it doesn't matter that he can't throw 90 miles an hour. I mean, he's unbelievable with what he does. Number 7, I had the Frank Martin hiring. We talked about it a little earlier, coming to USC to take over the basketball program. It's a splashy hire. It gives Carolina a little bit of national prominence. Now, obviously, if they don't win, it's not going to matter. But it does give them, in my mind, the best foursome of coaches in the country when you're talking about football, basketball, and baseball. When you have Frank Martin, Don Staley, Steve Spurrier, Ray Tanner. I mean, there's no other school in the country I can think of that has a group of 4 coaches that are more prominent than those 4. Number 6, I had Bruce Ellington's decision to play both sports this year, going from playing both to saying he'd only play basketball. That lasted for about 2 days, and they decided, no, I really do want to play football. I think Darren Horn's firing had a little bit to do with that. His pro career, I've always said, will be in basketball because there's a lot of 5'9" guys in pro basketball. There's not a lot of 5'9" guys in pro football.
Yeah. Or not ones that last very long.
No, definitely not. But he's clearly a contributor. We saw that last year in football. He had touchdowns against Kentucky and Clemson. So as long as he's here, if he thinks he can do both and do them effectively, I'm all for it. Number 5, symbolically, at number 5, I had to put Steven Garcia.
I was wondering. I was hoping.
The dismissal, he probably should be higher, but Steven Garcia is by far the most infuriating athlete I've ever seen in all my years of covering South Carolina. He clearly had no one to blame but himself. He had multiple chances. I did think it was interesting his backup plan when he came back for Pro Day, and he looked fantastic at Pro Day. I got to mention he cut about 30 pounds. He cut his hair. He looked good. I still wouldn't draft him if I'm a pro team. I don't think a guy
first round, first pick.
A guy that had trouble, staying out of trouble in college when he had no money. I'm not keen on giving him multi-millions of dollars and sending him to a big city, but the one thing I did think was interesting at Pro Day, he did mention his backup plan was to join the military. So NFL teams, if you value your American freedom, you will draft Steven Garcia, and you'll sign him to about a 30-year deal because I do not want him on the front lines for all of our sakes. At number 4, I had the women's basketball team making the Sweet 16 run, and Dawn Staley finally getting over the hump. She'd never been to the Sweet 16 as a coach, and I think that Dawn Staley's success, it's bad to say this, but I think her success really hurt Darren Horn because they'd been here the same amount of time. Darren Horn's team won fewer games every year he was here. Dawn Staley's team won more games every season, and she lost the best recruit in the country in Kelsey Bone. Lost another top 50 recruit to go along with her. So this team, as good as they were this year, they could have been something really special. But still, to make it to the Sweet 16, and again lose to Stanford, but
Barely,
they were an incredible team, and Carolina had chances to win that game. At number 3, I had the soap opera of a basketball season that USC had. Starting with Darren Horn running off Ramon Galloway, where Ramon Galloway went to LaSalle this year and absolutely tore it up there. I mean, he was fantastic. And then you had the losses to in-state teams. South Carolina, when Darren Horn was here, was never able to beat teams like Furman and Elon for whatever reason. And then the absolute atrocity of the game against Kentucky, which was, I was at that game, it was the most miserable I've ever been at a sporting event. I think that was really the death knell for Darren Horn's team, to watch Kentucky, and I know they're the national champions and they're a great team, but to watch them just thoroughly dismantle this team, and to watch Kentucky fans completely overtake the CLA.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 80-20 split of Kentucky, and that's probably being a little generous. I mean, it was absolutely embarrassing. At number 2, I had the baseball team looking for the three-peat, and like we said, they're kind of realizing the hard way how hard it was to fill in. If anybody was doubting how valuable Scott Wingo was, how valuable Adrian Morales was, we're kind of starting to see that now. John Taylor, losing him, the senior side armor from last year, came in and made 50 appearances last year, tied for an NCAA record. Losing him was a big deal. There's also going to be a record watch because Matt Price and Michael Roth, if they stay on track and don't get injured, they're going to go down as the 2 pitchers in Carolina history to make the most appearances of anybody to ever play for South Carolina. So there's something to look for. And number 1, I had the football team just going 11-2, and obviously a lot of people were hoping that they would go back to the SEC championship, and I think that was a very realistic expectation. But
that one against Auburn.
That one game against Auburn, and then when you lose your starting quarterback midway through the year, because Connor Shaw was not supposed to start this year. This was supposed to be the time for him to kind of build up under Garcia, and obviously that didn't happen. You had the quarterback controversy at the beginning of the year where Garcia briefly came back and took his starting position back. You lose him. You lose Marcus Lattimore, who's a Heisman contender. Alshon Jeffrey never really got in a rhythm. Part of that was probably because of the quarterback play.
Yeah.
But for all that this team went through, the only thing that really disappointed me about that year was the Auburn game, because that was a game people had circled on their calendar. Cam Newton's gone, Nick Fairley's gone. It was a payback game, and Carolina just didn't show up that day.
Yeah.
But other than that, 11 wins, the most in school history. They signed another Mr. Football in South Carolina. Shaq Rowland's coming to Carolina. It's the 4th one in a row they've gotten. So I think the future is very bright for the football team. So that was my top 10.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. That was a good top 10. I don't want to steal any content from your show tomorrow. So
I don't worry about it. We'll think of something. We'll be okay.
But yeah, no, that's a great list. I think I agree with most of it. I don't know why I was I can't explain this. The only reason I'm a Garcia fan, which it kind of hurts to say that because as a Gamecock, I guess sometimes I feel like I shouldn't be. But the reason I was is because one of the things you mentioned with Alshon Jeffrey. As bad as Garcia may have been as a technical quarterback, he was a gunslinger, and he knew how to get it up to Alshon. Anytime I saw Connor Shaw throw the ball to Alshon Jeffrey, underthrown, it's just wrong. And it's, you say you can't really throw a ball wrong to Alshon Jeffrey, but you can't throw it over him wrong. You can throw it under him wrong, and that's where all the few picks were that Alshon, he should have had a lot more receiving yards, and then he would get underthrown, and it's like, come on, Connor, he'll jump, I promise you, just throw the ball. And so I just missed that gunslinger attitude. Shaw and it was funny actually because I joked with a friend of mine. I said Shaw had been watching Garcia for way too long because the first game that Shaw goes out there and he's the full time, once Garcia had officially been let go, he wanted to run every play. And I was telling my friend, I was like, that's exactly Garcia. Like 2 years ago, that was Garcia. Every time he tried to run, instead of throw the ball. And finally Spurrier, I guess, drilled it in his head somehow. So if Shaw can just get comfortable in the pocket and learn to throw the ball up, not that we have anyone to throw it up to anymore. I mean, Ace is 6 foot or something like that.
Oh, you're being way generous.
I am.
Ace is listed at 5'9", so I'd say
5'9".
he's probably 5'7".
Okay, so 5'7", yeah, he's very small. We don't have anyone just to throw it up to anymore, so we're gonna have to utilize. I was telling somebody, tight ends. Hopefully, him and Buster Anderson are real good friends on the second team, so hopefully we'll use him. And then who's the tight end that he got hurt celebrating on the touchdown at the spring game?
I wasn't able to make it.
It was
Drew Owens. Drew Owens, freshman.
That's who it was.
Oh,
yeah, and
yeah.
he tweeted out about. He's like, "It's all right, guys. My mom kissed my knees." So interesting guys
he's
out there.
Funny guy. I had him in my speech class last year.
Yeah.
He's a pretty big guy too.
So we'll have to utilize those tight ends, but it's I look forward to the tweets stopping soon. I'm sure Spurrier will do the same thing as last year, make them all take it down for.
Well, once they get into fall camp, the tweets are probably going to get really minimal.
So, but what do you think about? We'll do real quick. Is he all set up out there?
We gotta get him EQ'd.
Okay,
everything,
that's
so.
fine. So John Rook's out there ready. We'll just do quick. What do you think about next season? When we've lost, we've lost Melvin Ingram. We've lost. I mean, and he's the big guy on defense. We lost Alshon.
Stefan's gone.
Stephon Gilmore. Well, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of Stephon Gilmore.
You know, I wouldn't either. And I do want to tell you, there's nothing wrong with being a Steven Garcia fan. I was a Steven Garcia fan. I was, pumping him up until the day he left campus. There's nothing wrong with being a Steven Garcia fan.
Oh, yeah.
As far as next year is concerned, I'd love to say, you know what, they have a shot at going undefeated. I do think they do have a shot. The only problem is, first of all, it's the SEC. And
Yeah,
you have
I was gonna say, their schedules.
The schedule is brutal.
It's 4 non-conference games, which they should win. We are Gamecocks, so God forbid we win those, and then it's a straight SEC schedule until Clemson.
We got Florida.
And the bye
away.
is right before Florida, but it's the bye Florida Clemson, right? Is that right?
I believe that's right. And
so
there's a stretch
we need it
in
before
there.
Arkansas, or it's one of those middle games, and we don't.
Yeah.
I wish
And-
they'd just given us
And
that
LSU away too.
LSU away is awful, and whoever made the decision to take Mississippi State at home off the schedule and keep LSU on the road needs to have a serious talking with Eric Hyman, because I still don't understand that.
There might be an LSU tourism type deal going on here, trying to get us out there, because
They do bring the fan base. I'll give them that. The
Yeah.
folks on the bayou know how to party.
But yeah, I think that'll be that one. Arkansas, as always, gives us trouble. Those are the ones I'm really worried about. I don't see another 11-2 season, to be honest. Just without an Alshon to throw the ball up to, unless Lattimore has
And
literally. Well, if Alshon has a Heisman year, let me tell you that. If he has a Heisman year,
Lattimore, you mean?
who did I say?
Alshon.
Okay, yeah, Alshon, he would have had a Heisman year probably if
Probably.
Garcia was still here and throwing the ball to him. If Lattimore has a Heisman year, okay, maybe another 11-2, 10-3 season with an SEC bid. But I don't know. I don't see him come back from the knee injury and being right back.
I think double digits would be asking the maximum of this team. And with Lattimore, I mean, it's a good news, bad news situation. He's not going to have a Heisman year because you've got Brandon Wilds, you've got Kenny Miles coming back. Sean Carson, who Gamecock fans haven't even gotten to see yet, he's coming off an ACL injury. You're going to have 4 very high caliber running backs. And obviously Marcus is going to get his touches, but he's probably going to be closer to that 15 to 20 range as opposed to the 25 to 30. So for the team, it's probably a good thing because you're going to keep your backs fresh throughout the course of the year because they're going to take a beating in the SEC. But for Marcus personally, it's probably going to take him out of Heisman consideration. But I think he'd be the first to tell you, if Carolina can win 10, 11 games, go back to Atlanta, he'll take that over going for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, definitely. I remember freshman, or 2 years ago, his freshman year, I was joking with a friend. Once we'd hit 100, and I was watching, if it was an away game, I texted him all right, we won this game. Because every game that Lattimore ran over 100, they won. 100 yards. But then last year, with just everything going wrong and then the interceptions and then him getting hurt, he just didn't have the same. So if he hits over 100, I mean, maybe the streak's still there. We'll just have to see. But
Another thing too that's different is, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're playing Georgia later in the season.
Yeah,
right?
Georgia's the
Georgia's not
6th
our
game of the
opener.
year this
Yeah.
year instead of the 2nd.
Which is a lot different. Which is usually Georgia. It takes a little bit to kind of pick up, and we
Yeah.
kind of
so we'll hit them in
we
their
start
minimum
up really
period.
quick.
Yeah. And Spurrier mentioned earlier this, I think it was last week, to one of the ESPN's reporters, said he liked playing Georgia at the beginning of the year because they normally had a bunch of guys suspended.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a
That.
problem this year. They're going to be full strength when the Gamecocks have to take on Georgia this year.
So that'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. Thanks for coming on, Rixon. You can stick around if you want, or I think, do you have class or something?
I got a class at 9:30. If you don't mind, real quick, I just want to
Yeah.
let people know if you want to hear me tomorrow. It's our last show of the semester, 10 to noon. We're on Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com/Fastlane Sports. You can also hit us up on Twitter, twitter.com/Fastlane Sports. You know, if you love what you're hearing, recommend it to somebody you love. If you hated what you're hearing, recommend us to somebody that you hate.
Yes, exactly. That's an awesome motto there. Some way you're getting a recommendation. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks again.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
No problem. All right, so we'll take a quick break here. I got to play a quick announcement, and then we'll go into some music. And then by the time we come back, we'll have John Rooks all set up and ready to play. So don't go anywhere. This is the Pauly C
and AWOWW show.
here on WUSC.
You said you were playing a commercial.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, guys. College radio. Listen to this commercial, that's music. We'll be back.
Excited to come make a scene.
Completely forgot. I was like, come on, Chance.
Do you want this to be like
April
a long
19th,
song or a shorter song? Okay, good. So I got 5 minutes.